In this podcast, I had the amazing opportunity to interview Pete James, the owner of OfficerPrivacy.com. I knew that Pete was a former law enforcement officer, well decorated. I didn't know that he was a former veteran, which makes this company even more appealing to so many people across the country. Pete has created Officer Privacy to ensure the safety of officers. And Pete is such an amazing guy that he is willing to give you the software free of charge or at a very minimal amount if you're willing to do the work. If you don't want to do the work, then there is a fee because he has to pay people. And again, it is a private company. So I don't know many companies that are willing to donate the software for you to do the work yourself. And it's an amazing company owned by cops, ran by cops, all former or even current law enforcement officers. So for law enforcement to be looking out for law enforcement, it's why I love Officer Privacy so much. That's that mug right here. I absolutely love them. You will always see that mug on my podcast. They don't really sponsor me or anything along those lines. I just love Pete and what he's done for the law enforcement community. So check this podcast out and let me know what you think.
So you got to ask yourself, why do you want to do this? What keeps you motivated to stay proactive and get bad guys off the street?
The facts is a big cannon against a little tiny gun of opinions, because we've all heard people give us their opinions.
Let's talk about how easy it is to get narcotics in this country.
Once they're in this country, anywhere within 2 days, the drugs will be in our cities.
Because we know knowledge is power.
Well, today on Beyond the Barrel, I have Pete, who is the owner and founder of OfficerPrivacy.com. It's a service that I swear by. I think it's a great service. I think all cops should be at least actively trying to get their stuff removed. And if you just want some more peace of mind and you're willing to pay a little bit amount of money and not have to waste your own time and do it, I think Officer Privacy does a great job. It's just an amazing service. It was founded by cops. There's tons of cops that work there. It's a very pro law enforcement company in sight, and I think that they just do a great job, and they do it for the right reasons. But enough about the topics, or enough about his company. We're gonna kind of go off topic here and talk about Pete. Where did you grow up? Where were you born?
Well, yeah. First, Kenny, thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on your show. I grew up in California, and I was. I went in the Navy at 17, and I think it's probably because I didn't have a whole lot of guidance, and I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with my life. So having grown up on TV shows like Magnum PI and Get Smart, it got me kind of interested in what I ended up doing in the Navy, which was I did intel, and I lived on an aircraft carrier for a few years. So it was
How many years did you do in the Navy?
Yeah, it was 3 years active and 2 years in the reserves.
Okay.
So yeah, and during that time, as now, we were dealing with the conflict in the Middle East. We were off the coast of Beirut in the early '80s, dropping bombs in Beirut. So taking care of business then, just like we are now.
I didn't know that you were. So I appreciate your service. I didn't know that you're a vet, and I appreciate that. And then when you're in the Navy, did you have any aspirations to be in law enforcement, or where does that come from?
When I was in the Navy, I was thinking that I would get out and then work for an intel agency, whether it was, the CIA or the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, or one of the different intel agencies. But life took a different direction. I met my wife, and we ended up staying in California.
And then at that point, is that when you decided to go down, or did you have other jobs in between the Navy and the start of your career?
Yeah, many other jobs, everything from delivering pizza to working at the DA's office, serving subpoena. And that's kind of what sparked my interest in law enforcement. I was going to college, getting my degree, and at the DA's office, literally serving subpoenas. And so I saw, what law enforcement was about and the good that they did. And that propelled me into getting on with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department, where I ended up doing 25 years plus a few extra years after I retired. And that was a great career, great people, And I really, really enjoyed that time.
That's awesome. Do you have any family members that were in the military or law enforcement, or are you?
No, I was the
You're
first.
right on. That's awesome.
Yeah.
When you were working at the sheriff's office, did you have any type of specialties, or were you just general assignment patrol? What kind of police officer, I guess, were you?
Yeah. So, as you know, west of the Mississippi, sheriff's departments do things differently than east. Our sheriff's department had the responsibility of the jails. So we had the pretrial inmates and some of the ones that were sentenced for just a little bit amount of time. So with that, we first get assigned to a custody facility, and then we end up rotating out to patrol. So I did that, started at the jail, did a few years there, was the intel officer at our main jail. And because of my background in the Navy, rotated out to patrol, ended up promoting a few times. I finished my career out as a lieutenant, and pretty much did, because you have to go back when you get promoted, I pretty much did about a third of my career in our jails, a third of my career in patrol, and then ended up being a detective during that time, and then a detective supervisor. So about a third of my time in custody, a third of my time in patrol, and a third of my time in investigations. And during the time in investigations, I had a great boss, and he literally did not know the word no. So when I went to him in the late 2000s, early 2010, 12, and I explained that we were getting cases where we needed digital forensics help, but yet if we took that evidence and gave it to our task force, the ones that were officially responsible for it, it would be 6 months, 9 months before we got the results back. So I went to him, I said, hey, can I start going to these digital forensics courses? And he said, yeah, go ahead. So that started my career in digital forensics. After I retired, I ended up working as a consultant in that field, working for e-discovery companies and firms and even a Fortune 50 corporation doing digital forensics investigations. Along the way, 1,000 hours of computer forensics training, a half a dozen certificates, testified as an expert witness in state, federal, and civil trial depositions. So being named as an expert witness, and so that is what I did after I formally retired from the sheriff's department.
That's awesome. So the intel stuff that you did in the jail and in the Navy, was it computer based, or was that something that's outside of the computer realm?
Yeah, that was really before the internet got to be what it is now. In the Navy, it was literally overhead imagery. So the imagery that we see on Google Earth, I mean, that was classified way back in the early 80s. That was crazy, highly TS, SCI, compartmented. The type of resolution that you see now, it was classified way back then. So that's what I focused on: operational intelligence and photo interpretation in the Navy. Cool. As an intelligence specialist. Yeah.
So you were seeing the stuff that we see now on Google, same clarity back then?
It's crazy. That's awesome.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah.
Wow. And then the intel stuff in the jail, was that more like?
Yeah. So I started in '89. So that was the early '90s. And of course we had computers then, but we were like using WordPerfect and, not quite what it was now. And it was more, computers, before the internet, it was just, you had either a special program that was connected just to other programs that were networked together, but we didn't have the internet as we know it now, right? That's really picking up steam later in the early 90s, maybe 93, 94, 95, when AOL came out with their CDs that you'd put in your computer.
And the dial-up?
Yes, the modem. You could make a phone call and be on the internet at the same time. And if you happen to be on your computer, sometimes if somebody called in, you'd lose your connection to the internet, lose all the.
Yep, I remember. Like as a kid, I remember they used to make they started making these like little blockers that you'd put and it was supposed to block the incoming call. I don't know how it worked, but I was like all these like weird things that no one has to worry about ever again. It's interesting.
Right. right? We've come a long way.
So when you're doing stuff with the sheriff's department and investigations, that's kind of where sparked your interest going down the computer aspect of it?
Yeah, at the time I was a detective supervisor, had a great team. We investigated everything from we did property crimes, we did at-risk missing persons, we did street-level drugs, gang enforcement. We did, we did more of the common station house type crimes, which were, assaults up to homicides, domestic violence, and so, like I said, we would get cases that would come in where we knew there was digital evidence to be collected. Like maybe somebody stole a laptop out of a car and they logged in and they went to they logged into their email account. Or, we stopped somebody and they had a phone. And so we needed to dump their phone. Yet there was nobody. We had a task force, but there was nobody local nearby, convenient where we could get this evidence from. So, so as I said, I had a boss who didn't know the word no. He was very progressive, and if somebody came to him with a good idea, he said, "Do it, just make it happen." And so that's what I did. So
that's awesome. Were you guys seeing similar crimes that we see now, where people are able to identify, say, houses or people at houses and showing up and all those types of things, or was it the people search sites not as big as they are now?
Yeah, so the internet-based crimes, in fact, there was a software called, and probably still there, Internet Evidence Finder, which was very unique for finding websites. But back then we had better location data, which is not captured now as it used to be. It used to be we took a phone and we could literally, it was collecting the information of all the connections it was trying to make with Wi-Fi addresses throughout the neighborhood, right? So we have cases where we know a crime was committed at this date and time. Here's a suspect. Here's his phone. Was he nearby, or was he somewhere else, or was that phone, right? Was that phone somewhere else? And so we were able to say, hey, look, no, you were there. That phone was there, right? Then, you place the electronic device, digital device in a certain location. Well, then you need to place the person with that phone, and you do that by using call logs and other evidence. But back then it used to collect that information. I don't believe that information is being collected now. I have been out of the digital forensics world for a few years since I've been focusing on officer privacy. But it is a fascinating field. And the more you learn, the more you realize what you don't know, because there is so much to learn and so much evidence to be collected and analyzed, that if you are somebody who's up for a challenge and always likes to be challenged and always likes to learn new things, digital forensics is where it's at.
And I mean, me having some, not as much as like you or even like Nick German, like you guys are like geniuses when it comes to stuff, but like just knowing the little bit I know and how fast technology moves, I can only imagine how fast that stuff is progressing too. So once you start to fall behind, I just feel like it's even harder to catch up to, like modern times. So it's impressive that, intelligent people like you and Nick that can keep up with that stuff. It's for me, sitting back watching, it's amazing to see. Why is law enforcement training so expensive? I don't know. What we have done, there's been approximately 10 companies with approximately 16 to 18 instructors that have came together that are willing to put on a 3.5-day conference in South Carolina. April 20th is registration. The conference is the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. In 2026, we'll be in Myrtle Beach. It'll be $99 for the entire conference, thanks to some amazing sponsors and even better instructors that are willing to donate and volunteer their time to make the profession better. That being said, Justice X Conference, April 20th to 24th, 2026. I want to see you there.
Well, I will also say that it's a skill set just like any other skill set. If you commit enough time to learning it, you can learn it and be an expert. You start small. You crawl before you walk, and you walk before you run, and you just you don't get too frustrated over not getting it right away. It takes time, just like any other skill set, and that you teach those skills, and you're not going to know everything the first day out. You're going to have to learn. It's going to be a progression. Just be patient with yourself. Keep learning. Keep trying to figure things out. When you hit a stumbling block, just power through it and figure it out, and you'll get there.
What do you think the impact of like AI is going to have with this within your company, and just within how fast people will be able to identify where people live and those types of things?
So I think the impact of AI is going to be completely revolutionary in so many different ways. I think like driverless cars. I mean, I think within a few years, nobody's going to be driving and steering their own car anymore. It's all going to be AI. And yes, we'll have some accidents, but fewer accidents than humans. It's going to be transformative, because what happens when you're not responsible for driving your own car? You don't get a drunk driving.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? The DUI attorneys are out of business. They're going to have to find different fields to look at. What happens to custody facilities that house DUIs? People convicted of DUI. Maybe they have the weekend work project. We had that in the sheriff's department. Well, you're not going to have that many. So it's going to go, many layers deeper. And there's so many different areas that it's going to help out with. You tell your agent, you tell your AI agent, hey, my car needs new brakes, starting to squeak. They are going to reach out to a mechanic, see what time they can fix your brakes. They're going to check your calendar, and at some point they may even drive the car to the shop to get it fixed. Better than that, though, they're going to know your brake pads are getting a little low. They're going to know they squeaked. So they're going to do that for you. So it's all going to be, it's just going to be huge. As far as is what we're doing and people being able to find your information on the internet. Right now, supposedly ChatGPT and a few others are not. If you go to them and you say, hey, do an OSINT scan for this person, and I have that prompt, if you want, I can share it with your audience later on.
Yeah, for sure.
As you know, with AI, it's all about the prompts, right? Act in the role of this, and then do this. And the more detailed you can get, the better. So I have a prompt that I use, that I act as an experienced open source intelligence investigator, find all public information on this person who lives in this city, include, news articles, public profiles like LinkedIn, news articles, social media, find all these things and report back to me. And in some cases, they will give you the address, and they're getting those from people's search sites. Some say they don't, but some do, because I've used them. So this is why it's so important to get a jump on getting your information off of these sites. And I know Kenny will end up talking about this a little bit later. The risks of having your information out there and getting it wiped off as quickly as possible.
No, looking at how we're talking, just the reason I talked about AI is just because how fast everything's moving, and AI is moving like beyond that fast. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to me to watch it, how fast it is actually moving. So that's where that conversation came. One other question, just on the personal level, like what did you do outside of your law enforcement career, like hobbies and those types of things?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I just work a lot. Work.
Family life, like married?
Oh yeah. I have a wife and a couple of kids, and they're grown. They're doing well. One is an officer in Southern California.
He's a cop?
I'm sorry?
He's a cop?
She, yeah.
Oh, she. Okay, yeah. That's amazing. All right, cool.
Yeah, and then another who's a marketing genius who helps me out with the company, Officer Privacy. And absolutely, the company would not be what it is without his input, which goes to, look, if you're going to start a business, you gotta get with experts. You gotta hire experts. You gotta hire out what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know. And there's so much to learn. It is just not easy. And cops think, cops are brave. They're courageous. They will, run toward danger. They are really, really good at that. That mentality, that confidence, can kind of hurt them in business because they think, well, I'll just muscle through it. I'll just power through it. And that only gets you so far. To bust past, those barriers. You got to bring in people who know what they're doing. So it's hard to do, though. Not always easy, but that's really what you need to do if you're going to see growth in your business. So that's a totally another subject on being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think cops have that ability to, just because most cops are very free thinkers. Their ability to communicate, like they can communicate with pretty much anyone just based on doing 20 years as a cop. You're talking to homeless guys and multimillionaires like in the same day. So I feel like cops have that, and they kind of sell themselves short often. But when it comes to, like, if you don't invest in yourself and understand like the marketing aspect, like you're saying, or hire out if you want to be an entrepreneur, like you're going to struggle there. But I think that I think cops can manage people pretty well, and I think they can communicate and be a good listener and empathetic and all these other things that we do on a daily basis, where you could be a good manager of a business if you wanted to go that route, or you could be an entrepreneur. You just have to outsource some of the stuff that you didn't invest time into learning, or you'll be frustrated as an entrepreneur. I think no matter what, you'll be frustrated as an entrepreneur trying to build a business, but you'll be more frustrated if you're not asking for help or outsourcing the stuff that you don't know.
Absolutely.
So how long ago did you start Officer Privacy? Let's dive into that.
Officer Privacy started in 2018. I was on an Excel spreadsheet trying to figure out how I could make the whole process of getting somebody removed from the internet easier. I was no longer active. I had already retired and finished up doing some extra on-call, post-retirement work. So I was working as a consultant in the digital forensics. But I had many friends, still have many friends in law enforcement and family active in law enforcement, and I kept hearing stories about officers' information being found online and them getting doxxed. And nobody was helping them out. Nobody was doing anything about it. Nobody was letting them know about this danger, and that there was a solution. So I literally started with an Excel spreadsheet, looking at because of my digital forensics background. I knew how things work on the back end, along with forensics. I had a couple other degrees in networking management and information system security, and I've taken programming languages. So with that background, I was able to get some insights to how these websites work in the back end, and was trying to figure out, okay, what can we do to make this quicker, faster? And so I put all of my thoughts down and what was in my head in an Excel spreadsheet. And then I gave that to a programmer. And he, of course, made it 10 times better and created a program that does what we do, but just makes it easier to navigate, as well as track the progress and everything else. So that's where it started. Started in 2018. Did about a year of research and development, of just tweaking it and going back to it. And, that's the whole crawl before you can walk and walk before you can run. So we started walking in 2019, took our first client dollar. And here we are, 6 years later. And we now have helped thousands of officers in all 50 states get their information off of the internet. And, that's, it's very satisfying to be able to, start with nothing and now have something. There's 25 of us in the officer privacy team now. Everyone is a current or former US-based law enforcement officers. So when somebody signs up with us, then it's a cop doing the work. They know the dangers that our clients face, and they take seriously their job, which is to do everything we can to get their information off the internet.
Yeah, you have some amazing people that work on your team, that's for sure. So was this more of a personal goal of yours? Like, was this something that you took to heart? Like, it was a personal, I don't know, I guess, like motivation for you?
Yeah, I just felt like, cops were, well, so remember, like in 2019, we had Ferguson, but we didn't quite have George Floyd yet. So, but even from Ferguson, and we had some other incidents, Stephon Clark in Sacramento, we had other incidents where cops were just getting a raw deal. And so we were up and running before the summer of 2020, which was George Floyd. So we were in a good position to help even more officers who were then keenly aware of how vulnerable they really are with having their information online.
Do you do this service for anyone outside? Is it anyone, or is it strictly that you focus on cops?
So despite the name, despite officerprivacy.com, we do offer our services to anybody in the US who wants our help. Although our main niche are law enforcement officers, but we will help anybody who wants privacy.
I'm just curious, do other countries have the same type of issues with their information getting out as readily as the United States, or are we just unique based on how, I guess, prosperous America is to other countries, and people have, even if it's not an officer aspect of it, like, people want, I guess, I don't know, to find out where wealthy people live and those types of things, to burglarize their house or something along those lines?
Yeah, the answer is yes. And we get Canadians asking if we will provide our services for them. We get Europeans asking if will provide our services to them. And we have to say no, because our focus, our expertise is on the US. That's where our clients live. And, to say nothing of the language barrier that we would face in Europe dealing with those sites.
So I know that you have a lot of information, but would those top 5 sites that you know offhand help people in other countries to remove themselves as well as or is it just the US more focused?
Yeah, I have not gone to other nations' websites and seeing if they have information there. We focus just on the US.
Right on. When it comes to your personal goals right now, so I know that you offer some type of limited service initially, or however it works for free, because is that your way of giving back to cops if they can't afford it, or where does that come in mind? I know as a businessman, you got to pay your bills, and it's a for-profit company, you got to pay your employees and all those things. So is that just more of back to like your personal motivation just to help cops out?
Yeah, so I've never been. I don't want anybody who may be going through a tough time financially right now to have money as a barrier to their privacy. So from the very beginning, we have allowed access to our software for free. So let me just give you a rundown. Officer privacy is all about protecting officers while they're at home. Okay, their home address is where they are most vulnerable. It's where they're sleeping. It's where their family and kids live. So our focus has always been on let's help officers remove their home address from sites exposing that information, as well as other information, their birthday and their email address and their phone numbers. So we focus on sites that show that information. And so what we will do when somebody signs up is we will take them off the top sites exposing that information. We will follow up with them and give them reports along the way. And then after we finish removing them from all those sites, we will put them into our monitoring phase, which is where on a regular basis we go back through each one of those sites, look for their information, and then remove it when we find it. So we have both paid and free services. If you are, as far as our free service and access to our software, we call it the quick removal software. If money's tight and you want to do it yourself, you can use that software free for 14 days. After that, it's a few bucks a month, even less if you sign up for an annual plan. But using that software, you simply create an account and start going through the sites and following our step-by-step instructions to remove your information. Literally for every single site, we have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and you just follow it along. We also have written instructions and even video instructions on some of the sites. So it's super, super easy to do. We give you access for 14 days because you should be able to make a pretty big impact within those 14 days. Now, if you're in the position where you just don't have time to get to this and take on that job, or maybe you've tried it yourself and gotten frustrated because you get relisted, or you've used one of these online guides that you get and you found that the links are out of date, that the links are no longer valid, our team will do the work for you. So we have a one-time fee, and that covers removing you from the top sites that are exposing your home address. And then we will monitor. We have monthly monitoring. Cancel anytime, no commitment. And with that, we will, on a regular basis, go back into those sites and remove your information. So to jump back to your original question, as far as giving back, I don't want money to be a barrier between an officer and having privacy. So, I'm committed to always having a free service so that you can use the very same software that I had created, that our team that our team uses to remove your information.
That's amazing. You don't see that a lot in any realm of the business world, where people are willing to give you basically a service. And in the grand scheme of things, the only thing you're charging for is the employees that you pay to do it. And if money's an issue, you give them an option. Or if their time is an issue, then you have another option for them. I think it's commendable that you do that. It's amazing.
Yeah. And the annual plan, it comes out to $5.83 for the do-it-yourself, $5.83 a month. With that do-it-yourself software, you can add your family members living with you for free at no cost, so you can protect your spouse as well. So that is a very low cost. And actually, in a few months, maybe first quarter of next year, we're going to be rolling out even some other options that will enhance that service right now, but that's down the road. So yeah, I don't want money to be a barrier between an officer and privacy. So if money is a little tight right now, use the free software. If time is tight, if you're busy with your wife or your spouse and you're busy with the kids and their soccer and you're working a lot of overtime and you just plain don't have the time or energy to do this, to get yourself off the sites, then our paid service is a better option for you.
What if you're someone like myself that likes to procrastinate and not get things accomplished, even though there's things I want to do, and then say that you're involved in some national news as a cop and your face is all over all the media? Do you offer a service where it's expedited by any chance?
So if you let us know that you've just been involved in a critical incident, we will do everything we can to get you off as quickly as possible. It'll be all hands on deck, and we will do what we can for you. But I got to tell you, it can take weeks and sometimes even longer to get off of all of the sites. And this is not something that we are in control of. We work with dozens of these people search and data broker sites. They work on their own time frame, and there's only so much we can do. We will do what we need to do as quickly as possible, but it can take weeks and sometimes months to get off of all those sites. So really, the earlier you start, the earlier you get a jump on it, the better. It's like, you can't buy life insurance after you've already passed away.
Right.
So,
Yeah. I've been using you guys for years just for that reason. Just it's peace of mind for me. It's very similar to like having homeowners insurance or car insurance. Just in my mind, it's something that gives me peace of mind. Like hopefully I never need it, but I'm doing it and I'm paying for it for the peace of mind that I can sleep comfortably, or if I'm at work, that my family's comfortable at home.
yeah, and there are other benefits that come along with it. I think you can be if you feel confident knowing that you are not easily found on the internet, you can be a more proactive officer without having that monkey on your back. Like, okay, I got to be really careful because I don't want anything bad to happen. So it can enhance your life in other ways. You can be a more confident officer. And we don't talk about it a lot, but the reality is that scammers scan those sites, and they use that information to call you, robocall you, to send you spam emails, identity theft, everything else bad that can happen, because your information is out there right now. Unless you've done something about it, your information is out there, and it's just best to to take it off as quickly as possible.
Yeah, as I look at even professional athletes with the South American theft groups, like the ones that burglarize Joe Burrow and Kelsey and Mahomes, all those houses while they're at games. So they're able to find out where they lived, and these guys have millions and millions of dollars where they can protect themselves. Yet those individuals were able to identify the house and then watch their schedule, know when they're not going to be home, and burglarize their homes that have millions and millions of dollars worth of stuff in them. It's crazy.
Right.
When it comes to law enforcement, especially when, I don't know, like I became friends with John Mattingly, and he has nothing but positive things to say about officer privacy and just the amount of I guess work that you did to help him out in that awful situation that he was involved in. That support, though, like, do you feel that you as a former cop are, I don't know, you have that still camaraderie? So when you see someone going through and struggling, giving them all that information and all that time and all that dedicated energy to help them, be safe, is that where a lot of your camaraderie and I guess, I don't know, your moral compass comes from, where you're trying to help them out as much as possible?
Yeah, just full transparency. I met John Mattingly after his incident, and he's got a great book, by the way. If you have not read it or heard or listened to it, it is an awesome book. And his story is tragic in many ways, because the media continues on with their lies that because it suits them, despite the truth. So, but we met after his incident, and we have been protecting him since then. Unfortunately, he was not a client before the incident, and he was harassed and doxxed like crazy.
We had him on the podcast, and he opened up and told us a story. Basically, like, he just bought a house like 3 months prior, basically had to sell that, move, and then ever since then, having you or your company involved has prevented future things from happening. But that's one of the craziest stories, and just to see how good the company is based on how easily they were able to find him prior. And
yes,
I'm sure people are still looking for him, and how hard it is for them at this point. Knock on wood.
Yeah, and just to be very upfront, nobody can make you invisible online, and
right.
We don't promise to make anybody invisible online. That is nearly impossible these days. Our goal is to make you more difficult to find, and we have achieved our goal if you can go to Google and you're not on the first 3 to 5 pages of search results. So we want to do that, and so we get some questions about, well, you guys are expensive, and we try and explain that without being rude, but selling your house and paying a realtor 5% of your house is pretty dang expensive, as well as the
Yeah,
moving expenses and the inconvenience of that.
especially when you just bought it 3 months prior to that, and then you're thinking that this would never happen to you because that's how most cops
Sure.
think, and then
Sure.
here you are, and
Sure.
now you have to sell that house. Probably didn't make much money, if anything. So yeah,
Sure.
I mean, you look at that cost, and it makes sense in my mind.
Yeah, and there's also the part about well, if you can't make me invisible, then what good is it? Because somebody will find me. Well, so it's all about making you more difficult to find. And let's say you and your partner are on a vehicle stop, and you stop somebody, and they decide that they want to find out everything they can about you and your partner, and harass and dox you and your family, right? And show up at your front door. So you are an officer and you have officer privacy, and they get your name from the report, and they look online and they don't find anything. What are they going to do? Well, now they're going to go to your partner. He didn't do anything. Now they end up harassing and doxing him. So was the first officer's information, was it somewhere? Was it deep in the crevices of the internet? Yeah. But look, criminals are lazy. They don't want to waste their time. They're going to go after the low-hanging fruit. And you don't want to be that low-hanging fruit. You want to be difficult to find. You want them to have to work for it. That's our goal, because we know we can't make you invisible, but we can make you more difficult to find. And I'm sorry for the officer who didn't use our free software or sign up for our service, but you got to look out for yourself and your family. Take care of your family, and while you're there, tell your partner about us. Yeah. We have a great referral program. Tell your partner about us and get him to sign up so that you're both protected. So nothing bad happens to either one of you, because then this criminal who wants to dox a cop is going to move on. He's going to forget, and he's going to move on until he finds somebody else who's not protected. So, protect yourself and your family, and you got to take action. You got to do something, because doing nothing will change.
Yeah, most people are going to go the path of least resistance, and where they have to dedicate the minimal amount of time if they want to go the route to even mess with the cop. I'm not saying they're going to go do something nefarious, but just to even, I don't know, prank call you or whatever, just those types of things. So I think, doing something is better than doing nothing.
And it happens all the time. Our clients, when they sign up, we ask them, why today? Why did you sign up today? And they'll tell us, I booked a guy and he called my home from jail. It happens.
Yeah.
And how did he get his home number? Well, he found it. So, this, and I shared with you many of the other stories of officers getting doxxed.
Who's tired of beard oil that overpromises and underdelivers? We have partnered with Semper Suave, the best oil in the game. Keeps you looking great on duty and off duty. Kind of hides my gray a little bit. Keeps me looking a little fresh and clean in between trips to the barbershop. Not only is it military owned, but it's also law enforcement owned. So we are full supporters of Semper Suave. And if you want to support them too, use the code BEYOND15 for 15% off. They love us. They're going to love you just the same.
Criminals showing up at their front door, shooting through their door, shooting at their house. We spoke earlier about the Minnesota lawmakers who were both murdered. And during the investigation, they identified who they believe is the suspect. I'll call him alleged, just so you don't have any legal issues, right. But the alleged killer. They found a handwritten notebook and he was very organized. He listed, Spokio, and an address, another people search site and an address. He listed out 5 or 6 or 7 different people search sites and the information that he got from each one of them. This happens. It happens all the time, and you can't predict when it happens, which is why it's a good reason to get a jump on it, get ahead of it, and take care of it, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
I'm shocked as any type of politician that as polarizing as politics have become, that they don't take more initiative as well. And I guess I mean, it's taken a while for law enforcement, and I guess law enforcement can be polarizing because we're taking away people's freedoms. But I don't know. It amazes me as polarizing as politics are right now. If you're a politician, how you don't use some type of service to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How
Well,
go ahead.
there are statutes in some states that allow that mandate to the site that your information is taken off if you're a law enforcement officer. The thing is, though, that you have to tell them that you are in that class of employment and that this is your address and you want your information taken off. New Jersey's Daniel's Law is one of those cases where, yeah, there's a law and it says if you're a judge or a cop that these sites can't show your info. Okay, that's a great first step. The second step is the government is not telling these sites. The government doesn't have an office that searches for your information and then tells the site to remove it. That goes back to the individual to do that. So, but many of these sites will remove your information without a law. You just have to ask, and then you have to stay on it because they will relist your information. But you have to search for it to see if it's there in the first place, and then you have to ask. You have to follow up. It's not going to happen by magic. Some people think just because there's an ordinance out there or a law out there that says you can't show this, you have to delete it, means it's going to get deleted. It's not what it means.
Yeah, I was just saying it is very on my end to do it myself. It's kind of tedious. I'm not gonna lie. It's just time consuming. If you know what I'm saying, it's possible, but it is very, very time consuming to initially get everything removed and then to follow up and remember to check every so often to see if it's back on these sites. To build a rapport that you have as a company with these search sites, was that difficult or was it pretty easy? Or does it even matter if you have a rapport with them or not?
Well, I'll say we don't have a rapport with them. We don't have a relationship with them. When we complete an opt-out on behalf of our clients, we are acting as that client when we do that. So we don't do it that way.
Okay.
And I am very, very careful about the information that our clients provide us. I am very, very privacy focused with that. One of the things we do that other places, one of the things we don't do that other places do is they come right out in front and they identify the client by their employment, by their employer. They will tell the site, hey, this is an officer. So this is what I know about working, circle back, forensics and knowing databases pretty well and knowing how the back end works. These people search sites. They are nothing but huge databases. Now we use a browser to view that database, but they're nothing but huge databases. Now, so think of Excel. Excel is kind of like the younger sibling of a database where you can filter and sort, right? So with databases, you can do that, but you can have multiple Excel spreadsheets. And it just comes together as a database. So the thing about when we do an opt-out is we will use and we will say, hey, we're going to delete you from the site. But really the truth is you're not getting deleted from the site. What they're saying, what we're asking them to do is not to show your information. You're still going to be on the site. They're still going to have your info, but they're not going to show it. So it's not going to be open on the internet for everyone to see, but they're still going to have it. And that's good because when they get when they get additional information, hopefully it will marry up with the current information they have and they won't show you. If they actually do delete it, the next day it's going to be relisted. So that's a good thing. But here's the thing about databases. If you identify yourself as an officer then what they can do in this database is say, this is an officer, this is a judge, this is a prosecutor. Now, these are databases. You've used Excel. You know you can filter and sort. So now you have this big database, and what happens? Databases get bought and sold and traded. So now organized crime comes in, some international group comes in from, name the country, Iran, China, North Korea, name the bad player. They come in and buy this database. What can they do with it now? Now they can filter and sort by judges, law enforcement officers, prosecutors. So it may not show in your browser, may not show on the internet, your information may not show there, but it's going to be in their database. So when we do opt-outs, we never provide them any more information than they already have, because they violated your privacy in the first place by exposing it without your permission. Why would we tell them any additional information that we absolutely don't have to? So we're very careful when we do the opt-outs. We look at the information that we have, and we only give them back the information that they already have to confirm that, yes, this is the listing to remove. We never tell them anything more than they have, because we don't know who's behind it. We don't know who's behind that site. We don't know who's going to buy their data and what they're going to do with it. So, you got to think about these things in advance and know that, when you do these things, or if you hire somebody else, figure out, ask them how they do it. Some will use a shotgun approach. They won't even search for your information first. They will just send opt-outs to dozens and dozens of different sites. Well, now they're providing information that you're not even on their site. And so now what are you doing? Now you're giving them information they didn't already have. So we don't do that. So it's more labor intensive. It costs more because we search first. Then when we find your information, we opt you out of it. We don't provide them any more information than they already have. And then we follow up to make certain that you were taken off. Sometimes it takes several requests. We follow up until you've been removed. But this process is more expensive than others. Some places will outsource overseas. You can go to their job postings. You can go to their sites and go to their job postings and see. Dominican Republic. Yeah, you must work in the Dominican Republic. And their minimum wage is 31 cents an hour. So of course they're going to be able to do it cheaper than us. But we don't want your information outside the US. We do everything we can to keep your information secure, private, only in the hands of current or former US-based law enforcement officers. So, we don't do things that way, and so that's why it's a little more expensive. Because you're buying a Mercedes.
Yeah. It makes sense. And as cops, like, even if I needed, like, I don't know, someone to cut my grass or landscaper, I'm going to go to my cop buddies to find out who they use, because I don't want to hire someone that is, that doesn't like the police, and all of a sudden he shows up to cut my grass and then he sees a squad car at my house or sees me in uniform. Right. So like, as cops, we kind of stick together in that aspect anyways, where we only trust other cops with specific things related to our house or in our family. Yeah. What kind of advice that you could give to our listeners that would help them either get their stuff removed? Is there specific websites that they could go to that are easy for them to use and get stuff removed, or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so I always suggest first, gather as much information that you can first. So Google yourself. The simple search that I always recommend is put your first and last name in quotes, and then the city you live in and the word address. So open quote, your first name, your last name, close quote, the city you live in, because most likely the person searching for you is going to know your city, or at least nearby. And then the word address. And so using the word address is going to pick up all these people search sites. So see what information is out there. That's the quickest way to see. I can also share with you the top 5 people search sites based on web traffic, which means that's where the criminals are going to find your information, right? So if you're gonna if you're going to do this yourself, those top 5, and I can send these to you as well for your show notes. White Pages,
Yeah, for sure.
Spokio, True People Search, Been Verified, and Truth Finder. And then a close 6th is Fast People Search. Those are the top sites that based on web traffic that where your information is likely exposed.
I was listening to everything you said, but I just also wanted to. I've been using it for a long time, but I just wanted to Google myself because I've never done it exactly how you said, just to see what popped up. And at least on the first page of Google, you've done a good job.
Yeah, thank you.
I was just curious.
Thank you. Yeah, and then speaking about websites, and I can also send these to you as well.
Yes, please.
So show notes. Many of us want that instant gratification of getting seeing your information there and then having it removed right away. And so I can share with you 6 sites that will immediately remove your information if you're on those. And those are Been Verified, Cluster Maps, Spy Dialer, that's them, Voter Records, and National Cellular. So you'll have to search for your information on those sites, and then you can do the opt-outs on those sites. And then once you do that, refresh, and your listing is going to be gone. So those are some great sites. Now the rest of them, the others, they can take days, and sometimes they can take weeks. It just depends on how fast they want to do their work.
Question: what's the legality of these sites posting? I mean, there's probably nothing you could do anyways. And then also, how do they obtain all this information so fast?
Yeah, great question. Data brokers it is a huge industry, and there's kind of a it's almost like it's fire, right? Fire can help us by keeping us warm, and yet fire can hurt us by burning us. We as cops use databases, right? We need to know, hey, what's this guy's criminal history? Who's this guy been arrested with? Let's look at other reports. Who was he in a car with previously? We need to know. We use these databases ourselves, yet we don't want them used when somebody's going to harm us, right? So there is a balancing act there, and I know that the sites that you have access to, and they're very, very useful. They can make great cases. They can connect the dots, and they're awesome. So along with that, because they help us and the military so much, they have a lot of money and they have a strong lobby. And what does a strong lobby in Washington, D.C. do? They make sure they squash any legislation that's going to hurt their business model. And I guarantee you that's what's happening on the back end. So the information that they collect from that we are providing them, we tell them, and we agree in the small print that they can sell it to their marketing partners. That's how it ends up getting online. I did a video, the ways that we are leaking our information, the 3 top ways that we're leaking our information. And we do it without thinking. We do it by signing up for services, DoorDash, Instacart. We do it by grocery store rewards cards. We do it by registering to vote. Those are big, huge ways that we do it. All of that information is being collected. And, Kroger is a huge grocery store chain. They keep their numbers private, but it is estimated that they make half their profit from data, not just groceries.
That's insane.
So, they sweep up. Sometimes states, DMVs have been known to sell their information. But I'll tell you what, the biggest data broker in the whole entire world, the biggest data broker, post office.
Wow, really?
You do that. What happens when you do your change of address? You start getting all this stuff in your mailbox, right? You're new. They are selling it. You can buy that. You can go to the post office website and say, I want to buy data from this neighborhood, and you can buy that, and then you can send them postcards in the mail for, hey, pool service, tree trimming, lawn maintenance. That's how you get them all. You get them from the post office, because the post office is taking that. So that opens up another rabbit hole, like, and I'm not saying to do this because I don't want anybody to do anything that would get them in trouble or would not look good. But on the, we have the offensive and the defensive on privacy, right? So you want to, you say, well, shoot, what if when I move from this address to this address, well, all of a sudden now the data brokers are going to pick that up, right? The credit bureaus are going to pick it up, which is another huge data brokers, right? Credit bureaus, that they, what would happen if you did a change of address from your current address to another address that maybe you want to move, you want to show that you're not there anymore. Anyway, interesting concept. Please don't do anything that would get you in trouble with your department or is not legal. But, when you look at creating disinformation, there's you can go down a lot of rabbit holes and play a lot of games. Most of the simple things don't do any good. Getting a magazine in somebody else's name at your home address, I don't think is very useful. That person's not going to start showing up on people's search sites. The good data that is going to do that is going to come from, credit bureaus, right? Your credit cards, because they have to know you're there. They have to verify your address. So that's one of the places that is considered really, really good data. Government records, everything from DMV to your assessor's office. If in your jurisdiction you can have your property records masked, please do that. That is a great thing. One of the better things you can do. You can also put that property in a trust. And if you put in a trust, please don't use your name in the name of the trust. Get something generic. Never have the, the James family trust, the Pete James family trust. Never do that unless you're not Pete James. Then you can do it. But if you are, you wouldn't want to do the Pete James family trust. So you want to keep that. You want to keep that generic. So
that's one thing that I've done too, is put a lot of things in a trust. That again has no affiliation to my name or anything like that. Yeah. I know some states. I think California might have been the first one, or is one of them, where if you're like in corrections or in law enforcement, you can use the department as your mailing address on your ID and all that stuff. I think that's amazing. I'm shocked that other states haven't gone that way.
Yes, being a California officer is one of the first things you do is you sign up to have your work address on all of your DMV records, your license, your registration. That is one of the good things about California, that they do offer you the availability to do that, and you should absolutely do that if you can. The other thing too is you asked what can officers do? What should they do? Number one, search for yourself. Figure out what sites are listing your information, what information they have. That is really, really important. I always recommend using a PO box or a mail drop box as your address for everything. Hopefully you don't get hardly any mail at all at your home address. All of your mail should go to a PO box or a UPS type mailbox. Now, a lot of credit card companies don't like it because they know the difference when you do a change of address. They still want to know where you live. I have heard that it can be helpful to use the street address of the post office that you want to mail your mail to. So if typically you would say, all right, PO Box 123 in any city. Well, you find out the street address of that post office, and you use the street address of the post office instead of the PO box, and then just street address, suite, your box number, and then the name of your city. So I have heard that works as well. So I would give that a shot for everything you can. PO boxes are generally cheaper than like UPS store, but I would definitely use on everything you can a different address, a PO box or something different than your real. And then check your social media. Double check your social media, lock it down, and verify that it's locked down by having somebody else who's not connected with you look for you and see if they can see what they can see. Facebook, Instagram, these social media pages are constantly changing. It seems like every time you do an update, it opens up the privacy again. So you got to lock it back down again. But stay on it. Of course, don't post anything you don't want made public. You don't want your department to see, but that goes without saying and is a different subject. So, and then if you stay on it, because these sites will relist your information. They are nothing but databases, and every single time they get a new piece of data on you, they think it's a new record, and they are going to show it again. So people will say, well, I was off all these sites. I went through and I took myself off these sites. 3 months later, I'm back on them again. What happened? Well, you have John Adam Smith and he gets removed. Well, then they get a new piece of data from one of the sources and it's John A. Smith. Well, everything in a database is a record. Now that's a new record. That record shows again. So now they got to go in and take them off again. So that's how it gets relisted. It's a new record. So you got to stay on it. So if you're going to do this yourself, just, make a note in your calendar, make reminders to go back through the sites and check and make sure that you haven't been relisted, because, we've been doing this for years. I collected some data for you. I can share with you. These are sites that I'll share with you the 5 most commonly where you are most likely to be relisted after removing yourself. So we've helped thousands of clients, and looking at all of the data that we have, the number one site where you are most likely to be relisted that you definitely want to check after removing yourself is Spy Dialer, and then Veripages, National Cellular, Voter Records, and InfoTracer. Again, I can send those to you for your notes, but we know what we're doing with these sites. We know that these are the sites you're most likely to be relisted on, and we pay special attention to those. So, this is, if you're going to do it yourself, you just want to go back and double check those more often than the rest.
Out of everything you said, I'm still pretty amazed that the post office and government entities can sell your data to a private entity to make money. That is mind-blowing to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
To say nothing of voter records. Voter records are great. Voter records, the information from when you register to vote. I mean, voting is everybody needs to vote. And again, I don't want anybody to not be honest or commit perjury in any way or do anything that would hurt their reputation or get them in trouble. But there are some states where anybody can buy the information in voter records. Anybody. You don't have to be a business entity in marketing. Anybody can buy them. There are other states where you do need to have a business use, or at least say you have a business use, and you can get that information. Some states it's totally locked down. Can't get anything. It just depends on the state that you happen to live in. So, that's something else. I wrote a blog post on that a while ago. I can probably send you a link, because in there I have a link to all the different states and what and what their rules are. Yes, to your point, government entities, quasi-government entities, they are selling your data as well.
Yeah, any link that you have, that I'll put it in there. I think it's going to be very beneficial. And the one other thing that you talked about is at the beginning was the for the prompt to find someone on with AI.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll send that as well.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate. If there's anything else, I'm all ears, because I find it fascinating. But we usually keep them about to an hour, so it's up to you.
No, happy to be here. I'm if if you are interested in our services, go to officerprivacy.com, and we explain, what we do, and we have the links to sign up. But again, it takes time. It takes a few weeks and sometimes months to completely get you off of all of the sites. And, we're here to help. Officer Privacy is LEO owned and staffed. All of our officers, all of our employees are current or former US based officers. We've all been in your shoes. We all know the risks that you're facing every single day. And we do everything we can to get you off those sites so that crazies and criminals don't show up on your front door. So we're here to help.
Love it. I love all that. I love the concept of just having all former or current cops on it. And so we end every podcast, though, with one question. What is your definition of justice, since we teach for Justice Academy?
Yeah, well, fairness.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people go into like these great elaborations of what it is, and I love those. But yeah, like just the simple one word answer is exactly what it is: fair and equal treatment for everyone.
Yeah, and people are in different spots in their life at any certain time. So, being humble and kind, I think, goes a long ways. I think we've all probably been in the position where maybe, we do something that to somebody else that wasn't quite right, yet it was not necessarily really intentional or designed that way. It just it just ended up happening. So, little kindness goes a long ways. When somebody cuts you off, they may very well be on their way to the hospital because their kid got in a terrible wreck, and they just need to get there, and they are getting there as quickly as possible. You just don't know. Or they're coming back from a funeral and their mind is just somewhere else, and they're just not quite, in the right place at that moment. So, having a little bit of kindness and compassion, it's better for you too, because you don't get so worked up over it, and you just let it go. So I think, doing the right thing, taking care of people, treating them how you would want to be treated in a situation, really goes a long way, and it'll take you far.
I agree. I think empathy kind of sums all that up, but I'm a huge person of having empathy and understanding when in any environment you're in, because most times people are coming from a good spot, they're just in a bad situation.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm glad we could finally get this recorded.
Yeah. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.